Ready?
Yep. Call to order, regular meeting, Warren City Council, Tuesday, March 14th at 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
President Green.
Here.
Councilman Lafferty.
Here.
Councilman Watts.
Here.
Councilman Kabazinski.
Present.
Councilman Papandrea. Absent. Councilwoman Rogosi is here. Moore is here. You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there a motion for the absent member?
Motion.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item.
Adoption of the consent agenda, so moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion?
There was something I had. Wait a minute.
Did you have something?
No.
Okay. Call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kabazinski?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is adoption of the agenda, so moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kabazinski?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
6A, calendar of pending matters, motion to receive and file.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next item is 6B, discussion in-ray resident neighborhood concerns.
Mr. Watts?
I guess I got something.
Well, no, we talked about one, so.
To communications, if you could throw those couple pictures up on the screen, that'd be wonderful. I had a complaint come in yesterday in regards to 10 Mile and Groesbeck. It's an abandoned gas station. I don't know, it might have been a Valero or a Sunoco or something.
How do I turn this?
And one of the overhangs over the pumps fell over. It's been removed, but the place is in really bad repair. There's a couple broken windows that access can probably be gained. So I'd like to send this over to the property maintenance and see if they can get this taken care of. It's really an eyesore for the neighborhood, and it needs to be taken care of sooner than later.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Any additional? Hearing and seeing none, motion to send that over to the administration.
Motion to
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
7A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 28th, 2023, so moved.
Support.
Motion by Moore, support by Watts. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next item is 8A, approval of the bills of the general revenue funds, so moved.
Support Lafferty with discussion.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion, Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. Looking at check number 007814, I'd like some more information on this. This is a check for $22,935 to Howard Schiffman, related to the effort that I had asked for from our Labor Relations Department relative to the firefighters and all of the effort that's been put in to contract negotiation, hiring, disputes, negotiations, and if we should be looking at inside Labor Council to fill this void. So I'd like to just bring attention to this, but I would like the backup material for check number 007814. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional? Call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kabazinski?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
8B, approval of the bills of the water and sewer system. Motion to approve with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion, Ms. Moore.
Just want to welcome Mr. Fox back. It's always nice to see Mr. Knapp, but it's great to see you and glad you're on the mend.
Any additional?
No.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Kabazinski?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is audience.
Members of the audience who would like to address council this evening may do so under this item. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. When there's 1 minute left, I'll remind you, and when you hit 3 minutes, I'll ask you to wrap it up. First speaker is Glenn McIntyre.
Thank you. I wasn't prepared to speak so quickly, but I'm willing to speak. I'm here tonight. First of all, my name is Glenn McIntyre. I live at 27574 David Gibbons. I've been a citizen of this fine community for about 35 years. I'm also an elder at my church, First Presbyterian Church of Warren on 12 Mile. Over the years, I've invested in the community. My kids are graduates of the Warren Consolidated School District. I've been a scout leader, a basketball coach, a baseball coach, and I'm definitely invested in the city of Warren. I'm also, in my career, I've been in the sheet metal trade for about 46 years. I'm a second generation tin knocker. My son is a third generation tin knocker. He also lives in Warren, following in my footsteps and getting actively involved in the community. Currently at my company I've worked at for 40 years, I'm director of operations, and I've had the opportunity to work on a wide range of jobs, from very small jobs to very large jobs. And I want to say, first of all, I'm very proud to be a union tradesman. We have some of the finest training for our apprentices in the nation. We have some of the finest tradesmen in the nation right here in Warren, right here in Macomb County, and I am proud to build America with my brothers and sisters in the building trades. Now, having said that, and being director of operations and being on hundreds of jobs over the last 40 years, I've been on some very large jobs and I've been on some very small jobs. And as you can well imagine, some of the small jobs, we don't have the skilled tradesmen that I would expect to have. They don't have benefits that are paid. They don't have the safety training that they should have. They don't invest in a labor certified apprentice program, and the results on the job are clear. You get shoddy workmanship. The Labor Department has shown that when you use skilled tradesmen, the owner of that project usually benefits from that because you have less maintenance costs in the future because the work was done right the first time. You weren't using some flim-flam contractor from Louisville, Kentucky. You were using certified contractors right here in the metropolitan area. So having said that, I was a little disappointed to read in the Macomb Daily that our fine mayor vetoed the responsible contractor ordinance that was before City Council and that was approved by City Council, 5 out of 7 members anyway. Certainly I was disappointed our mayor vetoed that. Certainly I was disappointed for the 2 council members who will remain unnamed who voted against it, because I think they're really doing a disservice to my community by allowing anyone to come in and bid on these jobs. Like I said before, I'm proud of our tradesmen in this area, and I want to make sure that contractors working on projects in my community pay their workers a fair wage, pay their workers benefits, including a pension plan, invest in the future workforce, not only in Warren and Macomb County, but southeastern Michigan, by investing in a labor-certified apprentice program, and safety. Safety is important. And when we use contractors that don't invest in the safety program, not only do we open up the men and women on the jobs to accidents, but we also open up the owner, you, the city of Warren, to liability, because we're using contractors who don't invest in that safety. My brothers and sisters in the building trades, we invest in safety. We have to follow 18 safety modules through the Management and Union Striving Together program. Many of us have to pass a OSHA 30 program, extrapolating the safety standards that we try to maintain on these jobs. And so I would recommend, I know I only have 3 minutes, that the City Council override the mayor's veto and tonight approve the resolution to a contractor ordinance that we use, a responsible contractor ordinance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ethan Vinson.
For those at home, my name is Ethan Vinson. I am the duly appointed and certified city attorney. It's also been judicially confirmed through one of the court cases, one of the many court cases that are pending. And I wanted to speak on a couple of items. As the previous speaker, the responsible bidding. The ordinance as presently written is deficient. It is a violation of the Local Government Labor Regulatory Limitation Act. And there's a recent court case involving that, which basically said a municipality cannot condition the awarding of a bid contract on whether or not the bidder pays the prevailing rate. I mean, you can pass it if you want, but I'm just saying at some point it may be subjected to judicial review and will probably be struck down. The other thing on the agenda is, I think it's item 13C. And I know it's just a first reading, but there's a bit of confusion in the language there because it makes reference to the American National Standards Institute, ANSI section 117.1-2017. That particular section has not been approved by the state yet. The state is still operating under, I believe it's 2015. So once again, that's another deficiency in the proposed, even though it's the first reading, there's the opportunity to clean that up. And I'm bringing that to your attention.
Joe Rutherford.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, President Green. I'm Joel Rutherford, almost a 17-year resident of Warren. I just recently received, the valuation of my home, and I was curious about, where taxes are as far as in Warren compared to other areas. What surprised me is on a rating from the highest to the lowest, Birmingham is about 710. Bloomfield is 702. If you look at Warren Con, it's 97th. Warren Woods, 86th. Warren Van Dyke Schools, now we're talking about, 64th. And Warren Fitzgerald's 43rd. The mills for Bloomfield Birmingham Schools for homestead exemption is 37.4204. The highest here in Warren is Fitzgerald at 57.6836. I start to wonder, are we getting the services that we're paying for? Because if we're paying those kind of taxes, you would think we'd look at, the city of Warren as offering comparable services. There's a lot of money, it seems like, that's being spent. One of the things I did find out is I FOIA'd for outside attorney costs years 2021 and 2022. For those years, now this is just outside attorney costs. This is not about settlements, it's not about anything else, this is just outside attorneys. The administration spent $344,489.66. City Council so far has spent $419,288.38. That's a total of $763,778.04. Just think what we could do with all that money in Warren. What could be accomplished with that? And I'm not saying that, council's wrong about everything they've done. I'm glad that you're taking the mayor to court as far as over this, him basically not willing to listen to the will of the people and try to stay in office. But I think that when we start seeing these kind of numbers, and that's just for 21 and 22 for outside counsel, that's a lot of money. And the people are paying an awful lot in taxes. We just want to make sure we get our money's worth. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Robert George, and I come before you tonight representing the members of Labor's Local 1191 who live in the city of Warren. We are a construction building trades union that represents over 14,000 active and retired members across Michigan. For the laborers, I serve as the Director of Advocacy for the Michigan Laborers District Council, where I aid our 7 locals across our state in their efforts of community engagement and policy development. It is in that vein that I address you tonight in support of the proposed override of Mayor Fout's veto of the responsible contracting policy. I have previously had the opportunity to address this body in support of the RCP, where I've highlighted the benefits of the policy. Research from several studies conducted by the Illinois Economic Policy Institute on municipalities with responsible contracting policies have demonstrated that the number of bids per project increased by 8%. There was no statistical increase in public construction costs. Worker turnover was 2% lower in the counties with responsible contracting policies, and construction workers earned 8% more. Communities across Michigan are realizing the benefits of responsible contracting. Over 15 different municipalities have adopted differing forms of this ordinance. Places as diverse as the cities of Jackson, Saline, Royal Oak, and Bay City have adopted, as well as the counties of Wayne, Oakland, Washtenaw, and Saginaw. Additionally, this policy has received extensive legal scrutiny and is compatible with existing state laws and statutes. This policy absolutely does not violate the Local Government Regulations Act of 2015. This policy makes no mention of and has absolutely no relation to the city's prevailing wage policy. Not only is this policy good for workers, it is good for public trust in government. Increases in transparency, oversight, and value implementation caused by this policy all help to build public trust in local government. Standing with me tonight in support of this veto override are a number of laborers, and the following laborers who I will name with their street address are residents of Warren who wish to have their support for this override noted for the record. Dean Demers of Engelman Street, Juan Torres of Hayes Road, Sean Connor of McKinley Road, Eugene Hall of Gerald Avenue, Sharon Carter of Schromer Street, Raymond DeMarc of Regency Club Drive, Robert Chappelle of Lily Street, Jameer Jones of Ryan Road, Robert Hackman of Linderman Street, Daryl Blunt of Tinkton Street, Nicholas Hawley of Jackson Avenue, Frank Rivers of Dover Avenue, Seth Anderson of Pineview Avenue, William Bailey of Eureka Avenue, David Lepley of Hendricks Avenue, Christopher Poole of Peter Kultz, Justin Barber of Dodge Avenue, Aaron Martin of Kevin Circle Avenue, Brad Boa of Lamont Court, Andy Tran of Michael Avenue, Kristen Gannett of Stevens Street, Hector Leon of Garber Street, Talon Balder of Sutherland Drive, Brad Berlatoni, Holmes Drive, Derek Bell of Stevens Street, Casey Hamans of Hawkeyes Trace, and Jeffrey Kruger of Gerald Avenue. Earlier today, I was in the state capitol as part of the broad and united labor contingent supporting the Senate's votes to restore workers' rights.
1 minute.
Pro-worker majorities in both chambers have now repealed Michigan's right to work laws and reinstated the state's prevailing wage, demonstrating the legislature's support for working families. It is time for the Warren City Council to do the same. In summary, this proposed ordinance is good public policy for the city of Warren, which is why I urge you to support the veto override. By improving transparency and demonstrating support for working people, this council can show that local government can deliver. I want to thank Councilmember Rogensus, Council President Green, and Council Secretary Moore for their leadership on this issue, and to all the council members who supported this policy at its previous 2 readings. To the 2 council members who voted against this policy at its 2nd reading, on behalf of the working people of Warren, I urge you to reconsider your position. There is still time for you to demonstrate your support for the hardworking men and women of this great city. Thank you.
Thank you. Curtis Ostosh.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to share a piece of good news with you this evening. The Alliance of Warren Evangelical Pastors, there's a group of pastors that I'm a part of. They put together a basketball program for the youth in South Warren, and we've got together about 145 kids, plus about 40 volunteers to coach and lead these kids in basketball skills and what have you. And thanks to Parks and Rec and the administration, they allowed us to use Owen Jack across the street from our church to play basketball. But these kids have an opportunity over the course of a number of weeks to learn skills, have fun, and also we're going to instill some virtues, hopefully, or at least plant seeds of virtues in these kids, because at halftime, we're going to huddle up with these kids, teach them things about integrity, honesty, teamwork, and such. And so I think that's good news. It's a good program for South Warren, and I just wanted to share that piece of information with you. Also, thanks for cleaning up the council meeting with all the signage that was here. Speaks highly, whoever made that happen. Thank you.
Joel Vanderlinden.
Joel Valen, longtime Warren resident. Don't worry, Curtis, the signs will be back at the next meeting. Recently, there was a court hearing in Macomb County 36th District Court, or Circuit Court. It was about the DDA, Fouts, his spending, and the judge couldn't believe that this had to come to court, that all the information that this council was asking for could simply be given to any citizen in Warren by filing a FOIA. So why fight it? Why not give the information to this council? Well, we find out later through this the court hearing that the DDA openly admits, that they have spent more money than is on their budget. They openly admit that they have broken the law. Now, I think indictments should be coming up next. One for Mr. Fouts being the president of the DDA, one for Mr. Fox for being the controller of the money and signing the checks, and one to whoever the legal aid there telling them you can't do it, you don't have the money. Obviously, these people are the reason why we have so much in legal fees. It's embarrassing that no city is sued more than the city of Warren, the third largest city compared to Detroit, Pontiac, and all these cities in Warren, other cities in Michigan, excuse me. I had a burp there.
1 minute.
I think more should be done. I don't think the attorney fees would be as bad as was just brought up. If we had Jeff full-time, we wouldn't have this problem, because Mr. Incompetent isn't earning his pay, isn't doing his job, and is embarrassing and disrespecting the Charter of Warren, the citizens of the Warren, and this council. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Hello, Tony.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item is announcements. The first is 10A, a resolution in appreciation of Judy Fergal.
Ms. Fergal, can you come up? I'm gonna read it from up here. I'll come down to you. Evening. It's a different side of the table for you. This is a resolution honoring Judy Fergal and her long time serving the city of Warren. Whereas Judy Fergal is a lifelong resident of the city of Warren, and whereas Judy is a graduate of Fitzgerald High School, and whereas Judy graduated from Oakland University and married her husband of 42 years in 1980, and whereas Judy and her husband Dennis remained in Warren and raised their 2 children while operating their business, and whereas Judy went on to teach at her alma mater, Fitzgerald Schools, here in Warren, and is currently serving on the Fitzgerald School Board, and whereas Judy is a former executive director of the 12th District Democratic Party, and whereas Judy has served on the Warren Zoning Board of Appeals for over 30 years, and in different capacities, including chairperson, and whereas Judy and her family have been an asset to the City of Warren. We wish to express our gratitude of their contributions to the community over. Be resolved that the City Council of the City of Warren thanks Judy Fergal and her family for her years of service to the city and the Zoning Board of Appeals, and wish her every success in her future endeavors. Resolution declared adopted this 14th day of March 2023. Patrick Green, Gary Watts, Mindy Moore, Jonathan Lafferty, Eddie Kabazinski, Ron Papandrea, Angela Rogancy. Can I get a motion and support?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Judy, congratulations.
While he's doing that, Mr. Vice President, if I may,
Sure.
I don't think there's any one of us up here that doesn't have a story to share about Ms. Fergal and how long we've each known her.
I just want to thank you. I didn't expect this, so thank you very much. There's only one little error in the paper. I never taught there at Fitzgerald. I substituted at some of the other schools, but not at Fitzgerald. But that's the only thing.
We'll fix it. We'll fix it.
Everything was
We'll
good.
fix it.
Thank you.
I didn't put in there about Mound Elementary.
Thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate it. You know, I've lived here my whole, like you said, my whole life, and I really, it's been an honor. So thank you very much.
You taught me a lot when I was on zoning board, so I really appreciate it too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Mr. President.
Oh, more announcements. Ms. Moore.
Yes, the Warren Symphony Orchestra's next performance is April 23rd at 3 p.m. at the Macomb Center. And tickets are available at 586-286-2222 or at www.macombcenter.com. This program is entitled Out of This World. It's featuring space-themed tunes, featuring music from the Star Wars films, and anyone is invited to dress up in costume if they so wish, but you're certainly welcome to come as you are. So hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Any additional announcements?
Mr. President?
Mr. Watts.
I got one item. Thursday, March the 16th, from 11 to 9 a.m. at Buddy's Pizza here at 8100 Old 13 Mile. If you go in there to eat between those hours of 11 and 9, the Centerline High School EMS program is trying to raise money for equipment for their class. And if you let them know that you're there eating and you're supporting the Centerline High School EMS program, they're going to give 20% of each bill back to the class. So they need some equipment over there, and any support would be appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Any additional?
Mr. President.
Mr. Kabazinski.
So tomorrow, as it was today in Lansing, and tomorrow in Lansing, there will be a Second Amendment rally in favor of against those that would want to take away and infringe on your Second Amendment rights. That will be happening from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 5 p.m. tomorrow in Lansing. So if you're concerned about those in the legislature that want to take and infringe upon your Second Amendment rights, you can join a rally there tomorrow and let the lawmakers hear your voice. Thank you.
Any additional?
Mr. President.
Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. I'd like to extend sympathies to the families of Warren Mott High School. This weekend, tragically, the Warren Mott family lost one of its senior students in a very tragic situation. I'd like to offer our sincere condolences and ask this council for a moment of silence.
Moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional? Next item.
Next item is 11A, which is a public hearing, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving SAR number 519 relating to 13060 Fisk nuisance abatement.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak regarding this item? Hearing or seeing none, close the public hearing, turn the item over to council for action.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Morse, support by Watts. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do I need to roll call that? Got to roll call that.
Yeah.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is 11B, which is a public hearing, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving SAR number 520 relating to 21600 Van Dyke nuisance abatement.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak regarding this item? Hearing or seeing none, close the public hearing, turn the item over to council for action.
Motion
Mr.
to
President?
approve. Motion to
Need a
approve.
motion?
Motion to approve.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion, Mr. Kaczynski?
I just want to get a clarification on the address. Is it 21600 or 22600?
As written here, 22,600.
Okay, I thought I just heard 21600.
I don't remember. Let's
22,600.
note that the item reflects 22,600.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional? Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is 11C, which is a public hearing, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving the demolition of a garage only at 24531 Antoinette, which is under the nuisance abatement program.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone in the audience who would like to speak regarding this item?
Hi, I haven't had a chance to be able to fix this, and I was just wondering if I could get a little bit more time to fix this situation. My son moved from Tennessee to come up here to help me fix the garage.
Let's hear from the administration, then we'll take it. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to speak regarding this item? Hearing and seeing none, close the public hearing. Can I get a motion of support for discussion?
Motion to approve with discussion.
Support, Rogency.
With motion by Lafferty, support by Rogency. Mr. Lizette.
Good evening. I've held this file for much longer than I should have. It's now going on a year without any progress on this.
Okay.
I mean, I've held this hoping for have some kind of progress, but I've nothing. We're going on a year now on this.
Can I ask a question?
Mr.
Yes,
President?
it's open for questions.
Mr. President, you know, these things don't happen overnight, and one of my concerns is, you know, somebody's garage is in disrepair, there's got to be a broken window or something first, that, you know, I think there's got to be something done to help people early on before things get this bad. I don't know what the answer is, but, you know, we've got to be able to put people, I've got an item later on, maybe we'll discuss this, but there's got to be a way to help people early on. And I know this probably is beyond that, but.
I always refer them to the Community Development Block Grant Program on our second floor. Go there. Everybody comes in, needs help with that. I always tell them, you go there, there's that program there that can help you repair these.
Right.
Now we're going on a year on this now, and nothing. I went by there today, it's the same as it was.
Yeah, I understand.
Mr. President?
Ms. Rogency?
Mr. Lizette, this is a different garage from the previous meeting. Okay, thank you.
Can I get your name for the record?
Teresa Schonebeck?
Thank you. Mr. Watts?
Couple questions. One to Mr. Lizette before you walk away. I didn't go look at these like I normally do. Is this, in your opinion, is this repairable?
Right, the whole block wall is falling in.
Oh, so it's a block garage?
Yeah, it's not just the roof on this, this is the block wall. That's what poses a dangerous situation here.
Okay. All right.
My son does that type of work, and he just moved from Tennessee to come up here to help me fix the situation.
Ms. Moore?
He's a contractor and knows how to fix it.
Have you pulled a permit yet?
I want to do the hearing first before.
Move in the microphone so we can hear you.
I wanted to come to the hearing and ask for more time because.
How much time?
I just moved back up here last weekend to help out with the garage.
How long would it take you to get it done?
I just need a couple months to get my permit in order and a couple other guys and gather some supplies.
Mr. President?
Mr. Watts?
For me, I need to see Bennett, since it's been like this for a year, there's been no progress.
Resources or anybody to help me.
I understand that, but there's been nothing done, and we have a lot of this going on across the city, and we have to make sure we clean up dangerous problems.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to do.
If a permit is pulled and I see some progress, you know, I would be interested in this, but I'm not going to wait another year.
Oh, no, it's not going to take another year.
Mr. President?
Mr. Lafferty, then Ms. Moore.
Okay.
Mr. President, I was going to suggest, if Mr. Lezay could comment, how long does it take to pull a permit, number one?
Tomorrow.
And then secondly, I concur with Mr. Watts, if there can be progress shown within the next couple of weeks, that we look at a tabling until no later than the 25th of April. That would be my suggestion. But Mr. Lezay, building permit-wise?
Well, permits are accessible. I mean, it's not a long permit process. I'm just concerned about the progress on it.
Understood. And so when you said that you need a couple of months to pull a permit, you don't need a couple of months to pull a permit.
He said complete, pull a permit complete.
Okay. So I just want to make sure, if we're going to allow extra time, I'm more than willing to give a slight bit of leeway, but there's expectation on the side of the table that you're going to make progress.
Yes.
Respectfully, we've had this conversation for several others over the years, and it doesn't get done, and we're back at,
Yeah, I mean, I've reached out several times, you know, to try to get progress on this, and I get nothing, so.
Mr. President?
Ms. Moore.
Ma'am, you said that you had limited means and you didn't have the resources to pay for this.
Right.
What's changed about that situation?
My son moved back up here to Michigan to help me fix the garage, and he's a contractor and knows how to fix things like that. I haven't had that, you know, nobody to help me or anything.
Did you go to CDBG and ask for help?
I don't remember being told that.
Yeah, I think that's we're going to talk about that later. CDBG.
CBG.
Is that what the block grant? Yeah. Yeah, it might be too late with them, I don't know.
I don't know. Any additional? What's the motion? Mr. Lafferty, do you have a motion?
Mr. President, I will make a motion to table until Tuesday, the 25th of April, with the expectation that a permit is pulled within the next week and progress is shown within the next 30 days.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And the permit is $250, I think, right, Mr. Lezay?
Based on value of construction.
250?
Based on value of construction.
About that, okay.
Mr. President.
Is there support?
Mr. President.
There's already tabling motion.
And Ms. Rogancy supported.
Yeah, a motion to table, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's tabled until April 25th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item is 11D, which is a public hearing, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving the demolition of a house and garage at 7215 Jackson, which is under the nuisance abatement program.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to discuss this item?
This house was just deeded to the city of Warren by veterans for veterans. The people who own this property live up north. They both veterans, and they donated it to the veterans to be rehab for a veteran.
Okay.
I believe that went through today.
Okay.
So they're going to address the dilapidated garage and then rehab the house for a veteran. There's veterans for veterans.
Okay. Bishop?
Thank you and good evening.
Evening.
I am Bishop Robert Garner, the pastor of the Word of Truth Church of God in Christ. They have 7107 Rivard Avenue, and our church owned the property at 7201 Jackson, next door to the property that is at question here. And I have not visibly seen any one living in that property for some time. And the most concerning is the garage. The garage is totally dilapidated, and it creates a haven for, we come by sometime and see rats and rodents and big, large things that look like what those things under the ground come up, and we see all of those things, and it makes it very difficult, not only for our property, but for the community. So it is our position that that property needs to be taken down.
Thank you.
And I have my member of the church who's a realtor, and we had been addressing this, talked to someone that's at the City Hall back in October, and since we hadn't seen any too much movement, and we decided to put it up for sale. And it's causing us a problem because no one really wants to live next to that kind of dilapidation. I don't know if she wants to say something.
Please.
Yes, my name is Tyra Brown, and actually I have the house right next door listed, and a lot of the feedbacks from potential buyers are very concerned about the garage next door, and that's running a lot of buyers away. So we're asking if we can actually do something about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our church is right across the street from the property, sir. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to speak regarding this item? Hearing or seeing none, to close the public hearing, turn it over to council for action. Can I get a motion of support for discussion?
Motion to approve.
Can I add one more?
Mr. Lezay, please.
Yeah, I was at that site yesterday. Our blight busters were there yesterday doing a cleanup in the rear yard yesterday on that, and the garage will be addressed immediately. All the unsafe conditions.
How long before you can pull a permit?
Well, I'm not that. I want to find out. Right now, the blight busters are doing a cleanup.
Okay.
And they're immediately going to address that unsafe garage.
And how long before we can start?
The house, yeah, then they'll start. The house is not, the problem is that, the main part is that garage.
Okay.
And that we're going to address immediately.
How long, though, from like today until you can have the house ready for occupancy?
Then I'm unsure. Right now, but what we're going to address right now is the obvious, like the pastor said, that garage. And that's
Can we
what
make sure that we communicate?
We're going to address that immediately.
Can we make sure we communicate adequately with the pastor and with the realtor?
Yeah, because we'll get that down and then start on the house, address the house issues.
And
right now we just got to immediately get on. They had a blight buster team out there yesterday. I went there to visit the site yesterday, take a look at it. They were out there doing their cleanup, started already, cleaning it up, cleaning branches from that tree. And I believe that the tree that fell down, I think it might have been cut down and fell on the house from a neighboring property. But the garage has got to go, and we're going to address that immediately.
How long, so the garage does have to come down?
I'm not sure. I'm sure it'll be immediate because it's an unsafe condition. Now that we own it, we'll address it immediately.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can we have this put back on the agenda in a month and double check? Particularly because these folks are attempting to sell the property. And
right.
It seems like, I have full faith in Mr. Lezay, but I would love to make sure that we're being accountable to neighbors who are attempting to sell property.
Right, for sure. It'll be addressed. The garage is what it's got to go, and we'll address that immediately. Because that's a main thing.
Mr. Lezay report.
The house obviously will take time to rehab.
How long before the garage is taken down?
I'm sure I'll address that tomorrow. If I find out, I'll get a timeline. I'm sure it'll be addressed immediately.
Okay.
I think it just was deeded today, so I don't see that taking a long time to get that addressed.
Mr. President?
Ms. Moore?
If this is the Returning Vets program, right?
I'm unsure of the program.
I
just know it is, these people were veterans, the people who owned it, and they wanted to make sure that it was veterans for veterans.
Right, okay.
So that's a really good thing. I was really happy to see that.
Yeah.
So we can get rid of the garage and save the house. That's
perfect.
Pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Mr. Lezay.
Thank you.
Bishop, Mr. Brown, do you have something else to add?
I did hear him say, I believe he said that we cut the trees down and it fell on his house.
No, he said a tree.
The house. That is not true.
No, he said a tree.
Well, a tree. Oh, okay.
He said a tree.
Because we had addressed that with the homeowners regarding that. But that is total that. And as I said, we have been living with this for at least 2 years or so now, sir. And as I said, what that garage is attracting, it is something that is, I'm positioned, that needs to be taken care of immediately, because it doesn't leave us any room. And like I said, it's the problem that we have in selling the property if anyone wants to stay there. Yeah.
Mr. President.
Bishop?
Yeah. And as he was saying, veterans, I support our veterans. Of course. And if that home is going to a veteran, we certainly would support that, but that garage should go.
So whether we were to tear this down as an abatement, whether it was the previous owner or the city tears it down, the process, I believe, is going to take about the same amount of time. So it has to get bid out, it has to come back, and then it has to be awarded, and then it gets torn down.
I'll see to it.
So it'll be expedited. I mean, the fastest we could possibly do it would be a couple weeks, but then you're getting on the contractor's schedule. So it'll get done as fast as it possibly can.
As long as we're not talking about another year or so.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, no.
All right. Thank you very much.
No.
All right.
But this is the gentleman you got to talk to about the progress.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Watts?
No, that answered my question.
Okay. Anybody else? We don't know what we're doing yet. We don't have a motion yet. Ms. Rogansey?
So the motion, I guess the motion is that it's been deeded to
The motion we
city.
have right now is to tear it down, to approve the abatement for discussion purposes, but if we want to change that motion now, we can.
Approve the garage only
Correct.
and leave the house, because unless you want to just table the whole thing. But we have to approve the garage.
Yes.
I have a question.
I mean, no,
Mr. Schroeder? Sorry, is this an abatement anymore since it changed
Been
the
deeded
title,
over.
changed hands? I don't believe so. Since it changed, Mr. Lezay, since
Yeah, I
this
think it's
changed,
a safe
the
thing.
property changed hands,
Yeah, I believe it's signed over today.
so there's no abatement for us anymore because we're addressing
Yeah,
the previous owner.
And then I'll have this garage addressed immediately.
But we have to prove tearing it down.
No, because
No.
this abatement's for the previous owner. We're the owner now.
Yeah.
No, we have to go through the whole process all again, the publishing and all
Motion
that.
to deny would be in order, I guess?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, motion to deny.
Support to deny.
So Mr. Lezay can still continue along the path of tearing it down
Yeah, well, for
under the
sure,
city.
immediately.
We don't have any action here because the title changed to a new owner, and we'd have to start the whole process again. So there's,
I'll see to it, we can address it immediately.
so Bishop, follow up with him. If you're not satisfied, come back, see us.
We'll take care of it. It'll be taken care of.
He's real good. Okay, a motion by Watts, support by Rogansey to deny. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item.
Next item is 11E, which is a public hearing, consideration, and adoption of a resolution approving the demolition of a house only at 12724 Georgiana, which is under the nuisance abatement program. Motion, no.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak regarding this item? Hearing or seeing none, I close the public hearing, turn the item over to council for action.
Motion to approve.
Mr.
Support
President,
Lafferty.
You have somebody coming for the public hearing.
Oh, sorry. Public hearing's still open.
Good evening. I'm the,
Can you press the green button in front of you? Right there on the, yeah, there you go.
Good evening. I am the attorney for the mortgage company who holds an interest in the property located at 12724 Georgiana.
Yes.
And I am here to find out what needs to be done to abate the nuisance.
The motion is to abate the house. And you're asking what needs to happen to have that stopped?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Mr. Lezay, can you add, well, let's close the public hearing again. Can I get a motion support for discussion purposes?
Motion to approve.
Support Lafferty
Watson,
with
Lafferty.
discussion.
Mr. Lezay, can you, sorry, you getting your squats in. Excuse me. What's the condition of this?
This house was infested with 20 to 30 cats, urine, feces. I had a property maintenance inspector go in there, could barely bear it in there. I had a personal rep call me, and the conditions are just terrible in there, terrible. It was infested with cats and feces and urine, and I believe the interior, as I stated in the spec sheet,
Yes.
littered with cat feces and urine. For the person, there was a personal rep who phoned into the hearing, and she did not even realize how bad it was that this lady was, her friend was living in. She went there and even actually tried to clean it out for her. She told me the place is just, Paul, it's terrible. The house needs to be come down. And it's just the interior ceilings and floors are all failing in there. For the property maintenance inspector I had who went in there during an inspection, it's just an awful, awful, unlivable condition.
How long has it been
That's the
like that?
information that I was given from my property maintenance inspector who went in there. And then I believe the animal control was there. The cat was littered with cat feces and urine. So.
Is there somebody
and
living in
here we
there?
are now again, 6 months later. Now we want to, you know, now we want action. Now all of a sudden there's action. And this house should have been gone already.
Right.
But
This is a rental?
Mr. President?
Mr. Watts?
Mr. Lezay, is there somebody living in the house?
Pardon me?
Is there somebody living in there?
No, it's vacant. There's been zero water there. Probably, I believe I have on here since 2016.
Okay,
It's been, yeah, there's nothing, it's vacant home.
Okay.
Vacant, dilapidated home.
so it's open to trespass, I assume?
I went by there today, I went by there today. Nothing's changed. It's same condition.
Okay.
Mr. President?
It's not habitable?
Yeah, I mean, especially according to the reports and after speaking personally with the property maintenance inspector that was in there, he's a pretty tough guy, and he was pretty appalled at what he's seen in there. And by the personal rep, the statements from the personal rep who went in there, it stated the same thing to me.
Okay. Mr. Lafferty?
Through the chair to Mr. Lezay, what is the condition of the structure, the bones of the house, the foundation?
There's a rotted rear deck on there. The exterior siding is starting to dilapidate. It's a dilapidated vacant home in the city.
But what's the condition of the, what I'm looking at is, if someone were to pick this house up and flip it, as opposed to tearing it down and starting over?
I mean, all houses are rehabable. You want to put $100,000 into it? I mean, you know, on this house, you know, how much money do you want to put into it to save it? And,
Well, I guess my question is the foundation of the house suitable to build upon?
well, I'm uncertain. I'm not an engineer, but I'm just telling you the conditions of this house, and that's why we're here, because of it. How long it's been vacant and sitting in our city, dilapidated. And every time it seems I come here, I bring these in, all of a sudden, last minute, everybody comes in and they're going to fix the house.
Yeah.
So here I do all this work for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
this
the
garage
same
is...
story every time. We're going to
Sure.
fix it. We're going to fix it. I do all this work. I come here. They come here, and we're going to fix this house. So where was everybody? Where were they 6 months ago?
To the gentleman next to you, what is your interest in the house? You're the attorney for?
The mortgage company.
For the mortgage company?
Yes, and I believe it's up for foreclosure sale on Friday.
I've heard enough. Thank you.
Any additional? We have a motion by Watts, support by Lafferty. Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Kabzinski?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Thank you. Next item.
Next item is 12A, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving the proposed ordinance creating a public arts commission, second reading. Motion to deny with discussion.
Support for discussion purposes.
Mr. President?
Ms. Moore?
This item was adopted on first reading on September 28th, 2022, with two amendments. The first amendment to 2-267, that the 5 members of the commission shall be confirmed by council and that 1 member of council shall serve as ex officio. This item was sent back to council for action by the city attorney's office on August 8th, 2022. That was 2021, the last one. And Assistant City Attorney Jennifer Pierce refused to draft the amendment regarding council confirmation, stating that council cannot confirm any appointments other than to the office of city attorney and city assessor. And, you know, that's not true. We make appointments to the Planning Commission, the Board of Review. You know, we confirm the appointments. Redistricting Commission, Communications Commission, Elected Officials Compensation Commission, Senior Health Care Commission, and Downtown Development Authority Board. Therefore, the statement regarding council confirmation powers is incorrect. I recommend adopting the ordinance on a second reading, specifically amending the first sentence of Section 2-267A to read as follows. The Arts Commission shall consist of 5 members who are residents of the city to be appointed by the mayor and conferred by council. So I want to change my vote to approve it with those amendments. And, you know, one of the reasons that we need to confirm appointments is, I think, become very evident is that there's no vetting done to the appointments that the mayor has been making. And according to the charter, anyone that is in default to the city cannot serve on a board or commission. And several, probably more than several, candidates have been sent over to us, and they have not met the qualification of meeting that not in default to the city requirement. So we've had to do the vetting. So I think it's very important that we are able to have confirmation. I'm for this commission. I'm not sure what it's going to do, but I just think council needs to confirm that, and I don't see, that's the only reason they wouldn't send it over for a second reading, is because they wouldn't change, they wouldn't do what we asked them to do, because just a confirmation. That seems ridiculous on my, so I'm going to change mine to vote in favor of it.
Mr. Lafferty, you agree with that?
I will agree with with changing my support to a support to approve, and with the amendments as read by Mindy, Councilman Moore.
Discussion. Call the question, Ms. Moore, as amended?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes, as amended.
Mr. Watts?
Yes, as amended.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is 12B, consideration and adoption of a resolution to adopt the 2021-2022 Housing and Community Development Action Plan for Home Investment Partnership American Rescue Plan Home ARP in the amount of $2,048,247.
Support Lafferty.
I need a motion first.
Sorry, motion by Lafferty.
Support.
Motion by Lafferty, support by Watts. Discussion? Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is 12C, request of First Door Enterprises, LLC, located at 24227 Mound Road, for a 60-day cultivation license extension. So moved.
Support Lafferty with discussion.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion, Mr. Lafferty?
Mr. President, has council office received any explanation? I know I've asked for this a number of times already as to why it's taking the amount of time from the building department or the zoning department to get these through?
No.
Nothing received. All right, I'll renew my request for, this is indicating that there's a problem. Anytime you have a policy or a process and you continually make exceptions, it indicates that there's a problem in the process. The process problem is on the city side. We don't have the resources necessary to fulfill these within the given time frame afforded to these requests. So once again, asking the administration for an explanation, why can't these requests be completed on time? If it's a personnel issue, will that be addressed in the new budget season? And if not, why not? Thank you.
Further discussion. Call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
No.
Green votes yes. Item passed 5-1. Next item.
12D, request of NHA Venture LLC, located at 25,875 Groesbeck and Suites A, B, and C, for a 60-day cultivation license extension. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion? Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
No.
Mr. Kaczynski?
No.
Green votes yes. Item passed 4-2. Next item.
Next item is 13A, which was a veto filed 2/17/2023, responsible contracting purchasing ordinance, second reading. 5 votes are needed. Motion to override the veto.
Support.
Motion by Moore, support by Watts. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes to override.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
No.
Green votes yes. Item is overridden 5-1.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item is 13B, Councilmember Mindy Moore, discussion in Ray ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the Warden Code of Ordinances relating to open government. Motion to approve.
Support Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. George. First reading, any discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. This is appropriate this week because this is Sunshine Week, which promotes access to public information. The Warren City Council is proposing this open government ordinance so that residents and others alike can have easy access to items on the city website. They should be accessible, minutes of all meetings. We need the transparency of all of our actions, and that information is readily available to the departments, that they can make sure that it's put on the website and it acts accessible by anyone that asks for it. We do have a mechanism in for some of the commissions to opt out of some of the requirements that if it's too burdensome for them. But I think this is something that's very needed. We all have had problems gaining access to certain things. Nobody knows who's on what commission and what they're doing and what their agendas are, what money they're spending, what actions they're taking, and this will bring some transparency to that process.
Discussion. Hearing or seeing none, thank you for bringing this up on Sunshine Week. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0.
Did you want me to sing a sunshine song? Should I sing a sunshine song or not?
I'd love to hear it.
Wait for later. After we're done.
13C, Councilmember Mindy Moore, discussion in Ray, ordinance to amend Chapter 9 of the Warren Code of Ordinances relating to accessibility standards. First reading. Motion to approve.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion,
Yeah.
Ms. Moore.
Yeah, it's got my name on it. It's not really mine. This is really Tony Baker's suggestion, and I'm just his means of getting it on the agenda. We gave this to Mr. Schroeder to deal with. Mr. Schroeder, could you bring us up to date on that issue?
Mr. Schroeder?
We just updated it to the latest version,
Okay,
the higher
Thank you,
standards.
Mr. Schroeder.
Yes.
thank you.
Any
Mr.
additionals?
President.
Mr. Lafferty?
Just for specifics, Mr. Schroeder, the sections that you've updated refer to ANSI, ANSI? Okay, and those, how do those differ from what is currently prescribed in the ordinance?
They're a little stronger.
They are just more updated standards based on the 2019 version, was it? My screen is frozen here. I'm trying to get to the...
I think it's 282.
As my concern is drawn from the fact that a number of buildings have gone up, and we've been consistently applying outdated standards to the review, the certifications, the approvals, and when we've been deficient as a city, not following the latest standards. And so, they've been obvious in some cases.
Yes, so the updated standards prepared contain the following additions. For new buildings and additions, enhanced dimensions for clear floor space, turning space, and accessible routes for new buildings and additions. Provisions incorporating many of the latest public right-of-way criteria for curb cuts, blended transitions, detectable warnings, diagonal parking and street parking. New provisions to improve safety for accessible routes through parking lots and to address accessibility at electric vehicle charging stations. New provisions to facilitate the charging of powered wheelchairs in areas such as accessible hotel rooms and wheelchair seating and assembly spaces. New provisions for water bottle filling stations and spaces for sign language interpreter stations and video booths. And a new section addressing classroom acoustics to reduce the intrusion of noise from outside the classroom and improve room acoustics. So this is the 2017 standard, which is updated. It helps achieve uniformity in the technical design criteria and building codes, allow a person with a physical disability to independently get to, enter, and use a facility. The standard is intended for adoption by government agencies and organizations to use in updating local building codes.
Thank you for the explanation. There's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be doing this. And I'm, from the beginning, I think every one of us has been an advocate up here for strengthening our ADA regulations and improving them citywide for accessibility. So, Ms. Moore, well done. And to our ADA champion, Mr. Baker, thank you, and another feather in your cap for representing those that require accessibility throughout the city. Thank you.
Any additional?
Mr. President.
Mr. Watts.
I don't even know where to start. In 2019, when they had the grand opening of the Civic Center South with an office for the mayor that's never been used, he gave a big speech down there and championed the ADA issue. And he had this person on board that was going to do everything. And here we are almost 4 years later, and there hasn't been a thing done on any of the ADA stuff in this town. We have a building department that goes out and inspects buildings when they're being, getting a new certificate of occupancy, whatever the current name is for it. And I look at these parking lots, and I look at the parking spaces, and I look at where the ADA ramps are in comparison to the stores. And then I go to other cities around us, and I look at what they're doing, and I'm like, are you kidding me? We're like the backwoods here. We're allowing businesses to open up with parking lots that are basically almost gravel. The blacktop's broken up so bad. Nobody could get around in a wheelchair or walker in those places. Nothing is right, and everybody wants to argue about it. Now, I'm not saying that, Mr. Baker is 100% right, but he's probably about 99% right compared to what our people are doing. And we haven't heard anything from the administration except for tonight when Mr. Vincent comes to the microphone and tells us that that's wrong to adopt that. Well, what has this administration done to fix anything? Not one thing. And it's the same thing with this. We get a letter on our table tonight about the other item we had about the responsible contracting. Administration hasn't communicated with us at all, and they want to plop something on our desk at the last minute and talk about it and get it rejected. Well, let me tell you, this administration is like the giant log jam, and I'm done with it. We need to fix things in the city. We need to make things look right. We need it to be right for the people that need ADA issues taken care of. Everything needs to be fixed. I mean, you listen to the residents complaining about the blight and about the houses. It's just one thing right after another, and this administration has done absolutely nothing. We're finally getting nuisance abatements, but it just boggles my mind. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. When I see stuff, I mean, fortunately, we're in good health. But I had a hip replaced a few years ago, and listen, I had to use a walker for a month. It wasn't pleasant going places. And somebody that has to use this equipment every day, they deserve better from this city. And we need to get on the ball. So that's the end of my rant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Any additional? Call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski? Yes. Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is 13D, Councilmember Mindy Moore, discussion and rate community relations. Motion to approve for discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Ms. Moore?
Thank you. I know this is probably going to go nowhere, and it's kind of at the last minute. We're in a lame duck the last few months. There's probably not time to get this done, but it's become abundantly apparent and clear to me over these last 3.5 years that the city is operating in silos. And there's often things going on in one department that maybe could be coordinated with another. People are coming to the city, and I you know, appreciate that Mr. Lizay tells someone to go to CDBG. But if you told my grandmother to go to CDBG, she would have went in the car and cried because she wouldn't have any idea what that was. That, you know, sometimes people need to be walked through a process. You know, there can be all kinds of language barriers or, you know, all kinds of things that people are overwhelmed with life at the time that need a little help. But there should be somewhere to go in this city that can walk somebody through the processes, that can tell somebody where to go, that can be the liaison between the residents and a department and the facilities and the things that are available to residents. It's half of the calls I get are from residents that don't know where to go. There should be a central place that people can call and get information. And you know, it's probably not going to happen in this term, but I'm hoping the next term that that's something that can be addressed, that I can really see a difference that we don't have that person. We had somebody in that position for many years, and they had other duties as well. Often they wrote grants and did things like that that were very, very beneficial to the city. And I think that that's something that would really be worthwhile looking at the next time. And some of these things that come up that somebody has a blight issue and that gets worse and worse. Sometimes people need a little bit of help. It might just be they need help with a rake to clean up their property or things like that. We have to do a better job of helping residents comply with our standards to be better neighbors. Sometimes you just have to teach people how to do that. And I think we're doing a really bad job of that. But
Mr. President?
Mr. Watts.
I couldn't agree more. And I had a resident reach out recently asking about a list of hotels. And I hadn't thought about it much, but I can remember back under previous mayor, I don't know if it was there under Mayor Steenberg, but I know it was under Mayor Bonkowski because I had been in the office a couple of times and I seen the list. But you used to be able to go in the office and they had a rack and you could get a list of hotels, you could get a list of restaurants, you could get a list of apartment complexes. And I don't remember what all of them, I don't even know if I still got some laying on the shelf somewhere, but I remember getting those, and you go to you can't get anything. You know, I was up there the other day by the mayor's office, and the whole waiting room, he's collecting for some cause, I don't remember what it was, which is all good, the earthquake. And there's just bags laying all over the hallway out there and stuff. I mean, there's not even a place for residents to come and sit down and wait to visit with somebody up there or to have any, or to get any information. So I think we need to do better, and I agree. If we can get this done, let's get it done. But you know, there's only one lame duck in this town. Let's make that clear. So,
Mr. President, just one more comment. I just wanted to mention that the last two people in that position, the person under the Steenberg administration and earlier in the Fouts administration, went on to be city managers in other cities. So they were some outstanding people, and you know, Dennis Champagne filled that role, and he was a lifelong resident of Warren, and you know, his heart and soul was here, and you know, Bill Gamble was outstanding, and I think that's a real opportunity for us to think about in the future.
Yep. Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. I echo Mr. Watts and Ms. Moore. I also agree with this. The thing is, the other aspect of the Community Relations Department was that it wasn't just a place that you could come get information, but the sponsorship of community events, the sponsorship of involvement. How many years did we do Paint the Town? 23, 24 years ago, I remember picking up a paintbrush with Ms. Camp, Ms. Moore, you were there.
I probably bought the paint, but I probably didn't paint.
I don't think I saw a paintbrush in your hand. I do remember the paint cans. But it's those types of things. This was government in action. This was government taking ownership and saying, if we really want to stand behind our community, we can say all day long that blight begets blight, and if you beautify and you improve, other people will do it. Here was a step that we took action, and we actually did something as a community, and we came together, and it was led by the people that were elected. And so let's push it forward and see, maybe, hey, miracles can happen. See if we can't get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. What's your motion? Receive and file?
Receive and file.
Motion to receive and file?
My rant.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 14A, request of the Assessing Department for a transfer of funds between line items in the amount of $20,000 to provide sufficient funding for the balance of the 2023 fiscal year. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. 5 votes needed. Motion to approve.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Rogansey. Discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Rogansey?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
14B, request of community development for an increase in revenues and appropriations in the amount of $12,958 in order to provide sufficient funding in several accounts within the general fund budget for the balance of the 2023 fiscal year. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. 5 votes are needed. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Ms. Rogansey?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
14C, request of the library director for a transfer of funds between line items in the amount of $17,000 and an additional appropriation of funds in the amount of $11,000 to provide sufficient funding for the balance of the 2023 fiscal year. Consideration and adoption of resolution. 5 votes are needed. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Ms. Rogansey?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Next item is 14D, request of the Controller's Office for an increase in budgeted appropriations of funds from the Michigan Transportation Local Operating Special Revenue Funds fund balance in the amount of $320,750 to cover the costs for contract extension on P21-724. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. 5 votes are needed. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogansey?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
14E, consideration and adoption of a resolution to approve contract modification number 3 to city contract P21-724, 2021 pavement repairs for an extension of contract time to June 30th, 2023, and increasing the current contract amount by $1 million, resulting in an amended contract amount of $3,493,650 to Luigi Ferdinandi and Son Cement Company. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Watts? I got a question too.
I'm not going to let Ms. Gapshis get out of here. She came, if I could ask her a question. She came and sat here patiently, so. My question is, I know you got to finish the jobs that we didn't get done last year because of the concrete. I would assume that's going to be starting pretty soon.
Yes.
And 2, can we get a list of what's going to be done this year?
In the pavement repair program?
Yeah, like the side streets, like is Masonic going to be done?
Oh, the local streets, you mean?
Yeah, local streets.
Masonic will be done this year, yes.
How
Yeah,
about?
we have a list on our website.
Okay, I couldn't find it the last time I looked, but we know that Bunnert's going to be done between 11 and 12.
Glody.
Glody's going to be done between 12 and whatever. Okay.
Right.
So, all right, I'll check the list. If I got any questions, I'll email you then.
Okay,
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
I have
Keep
one-
up the good work.
all right, thank you.
I have one question too. What's the difference between the previous item and this item? The previous item was allocation of $320,750, and this one's an additional $1 million.
Right, that was the amount needed to get to the $1 million. So they had to transfer that in order to add $1 million to this contract.
Oh, so the $320,750 was adding to?
Right, we were short, so, 680, whatever.
Gotcha. Okay, just didn't know why it wasn't done in one item.
Mr. President.
Mr. Lafferty?
And just a quick status on Ryan Road.
9 to 10, that is starting up again next week. Next week, I believe he's starting on the
Okay.
southbound lanes. And then we also have Ryan 10 to 11 coming up as well.
Yay.
this year.
Wonderful. That is in sore need of work. As far as the review of side streets where you do the spot repairs,
Yes, that's what this contract is.
understood. And is that's based on the Paiser ratings?
Pazer ratings, complaints, sinkholes, it's based on.
Okay.
Basically
I've got a
those.
couple to forward. I'll bring those forward at the next meeting,
Sure.
since I can't email you.
Any additional? Call the question, Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Green votes yes, item passed 6-0. Thank you. Next item.
14F, request of the Property Maintenance Division for a transfer of funds between line items in the amount of $37,800 and an additional appropriation of funds in the amount of $102,800 in order to provide sufficient funding for the balance of the 2023 fiscal year. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. 5 votes needed. Motion to approve with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion.
I'd just like to make a comment about the appropriations and the approval of line item transfers. When we approved the budget, every year we've said this, to come back to us and we would consider any budget amendment or line item transfers that were needed. And as you can see, tonight we approved, 5 or 6 of these? So there was no reason for anybody to be misappropriating funds out of any account in this city without coming to this council. And we have been very, very reasonable about approving these reappropriations and line item transfers when they're reasonable, and we've been reasonable. So there's absolutely no reason for the misappropriation that's gone on. And this is, I think it's very evident how reasonable we've been about these issues. Thank you.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. On F, discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Green votes yes, item passed 6-0. Next item.
14G, request of the Property Maintenance Director to extend the award for rodent control services through June 30th, 2029 to Landscape Services, Inc. in an annual amount not to exceed $355,000. Consideration and adoption of a resolution.
So moved, Lafferty.
Support.
Motion by Lafferty, support by Rogency. Discussion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Mr. President, it was earlier in the council meeting referring to 7215 Jackson. The pastor referred to the amount of rodents that were in the garage and the neighborhood there, as well as what was referred to earlier as, I believe it was 75 Ford, with also rodent infestation, as well as, I guess, cats at that property as well. What is the plan here for the rodent control if it's not already being handled at this point with the money that's been spent?
Mr. Walker, is that yours? No, is there anybody here for that? Bob Scott? Mr. Scott's not here.
I would ask that the item be tabled until I can get my question
Motion
answered.
tabled by Kaczynski.
Support.
Support by Watts. Mr. Kaczynski, to table.
Yes.
Mr.
table.
Watts.
Yes to table.
Ms. Rogency.
No.
Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty.
Yes to table.
Green votes no. Item's tabled 4-2. Next item.
Next item is 14H, request of the Property Maintenance Division to extend the award of bid ITBW 0412 Weed Book, Lawn Maintenance, and Weed Mowing Services through the 2024 mowing season, and to increase the award to an annual amount not to exceed $101,000. Consideration and adoption of a resolution.
So moved, Lafferty.
I'm sorry?
So moved, Lafferty.
Motion by Lafferty.
Support.
I must not have been loud enough.
I don't know. Discussion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Kaczynski.
So this question applies for H, I, and J, if I can ask the same question at once.
Sure.
I believe, and I'm sure Mr. Watts will correct me here, I thought we were trying to bring the lawn care and lawn maintenance service in-house, and we were buying equipment so that we could do that in-house and no longer do outside contractors. What happened with that plan?
I'm sorry, Mr. Walker. Come on up. Come on down.
Is that correct, Mr. Walker?
Yep. Yeah, and I'm gonna talk to you.
All right, my understanding about this is they did bring it back in-house for the blight crews, and they were unable to keep up, and we had too many complaints. That's when it went back out to landscape services.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, we had
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Walker, we had complaints about the work that Blightbusters was doing?
We had complaints because they were unable to keep up. They didn't. I don't think they were able to hire enough employees for the amount of grass that we have. That would be my understanding. I don't run that department. The next one is mine. You asked this question on the next one.
Okay. I'm not trying to bite your head off, sir. I believe that that's what the plan was, is that we were going to bring the lawn maintenance and lawn care in-house.
Well, like I said, this is my understanding of it. This isn't my department, but rather than you table it, I figured I'd at least give you, an answer of some sort.
Mr. Watts. Are you finished, Mr. Kaczynski?
Yeah, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Mr. Watts.
Yeah. I don't know where the proper one of these is to ask this question to Mr. Walker, but here's my problem. We brought this up, we hammered this out way back when we were still on Zoom, and Mr. Ganem, and I don't remember who else, we're gonna bring that stuff in-house, we're gonna get this done, we're gonna do it. And, well, here we are, we're contracting out more work than ever. When I look here, we're looking at 700,000. We're looking at 200,000, another 100,000 for the weed book, and I'm sure there's more. That's over $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much equipment is today, but I have a pretty good idea.
I think the last time I looked, lawnmowers were going around 35 grand a lawnmower.
Yeah. So, and I mean, maybe a bigger one that's maybe 100 grand to do like median, the big medians where you got a 24,
Yeah,
28
your
inch
fellers
cut,
are
28
probably
foot
gonna be
cut,
even more than that.
something like that. So, I look at what we're spending, and I look if we had the employees, and I've had this discussion with Mr. Toccato before. If we had the employees, they'd be cutting grass in the summertime and doing other projects. And in the wintertime, they'd be plowing the snow. They'd be repairing picnic tables. They'd be repairing other things. But this administration has done nothing to hire people, absolutely nothing. They want to load the Blightbusters up, but that's it. They don't want to do anything else. They don't want to hire anybody. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, Mr. Walker.
Sure.
How many people do you have in your department work, DPW crews that go out and do your...
I have 21 roadies.
You have 21 people.
Correct.
That doesn't include the mechanics and what have you?
No. You asked for the road workers. I have 21 road
All right.
workers.
I'll get to you, Mr. Toccato, so you can come on up. I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm going to throw out a number. 15 years ago, how many people you think you had then? Or 20 years ago?
Well, I started in the department, I want to say we had 34.
34. So we're down about 14 people.
Sounds correct.
All right. Mr. Toccato, how many do you have today? You have 3. Is that what you had?
I have 3, correct.
I couldn't see how many fingers you had up.
3.
All right.
We're hiring another one coming up,
All
hopefully
right.
4 coming up.
Now, looking back at the budgets, I kind of know this. One time you had about 10 or 12 people at least, correct?
I think back in, 2000, probably 2010 was the last time they had 12 maintenance.
Okay.
Yes.
So from a guy that's lived in the city all his life, like everybody up here, drive around and you look at the situation in this city, what's the problem? You don't have anybody doing any work. Nobody's doing anything. No, we don't have anybody do anything. In all fairness to Mr. Toccato, he's got 3 people. He can't even begin to fix the picnic tables. He can't even begin to get the sidewalk shoveled in the wintertime. He's only got so much to go around. I mean, I can't imagine running around trying to get the work done. Mr. Walker, I see the same thing. I look at what he goes through. If he's got 20 people and we're complaining about getting side streets plowed, well, no wonder he can't get stuff fast enough. And I mean, he does a great job with what he's doing it with, by all means. But he's robbing from other departments to get things done. We had how many people in parks, and they eliminated the parks people and folded them into DPW. So that would have made you have 34 and another 12, that'd be 46, but instead we got 20. What's going on here? Nothing's functioning right in this city because we don't hire anybody. But hey, you know what, in all fairness, we got a $100 million fund balance. Sure, a lot of it's, guaranteed money for other things, but man, we got a lot of money to set on, but the city's falling apart. I don't have any problem contracting work out if we have to, but I would rather hire employees, give people a decent salary, hire people that live in this city, spend their money here, and get this place fixed up right, like it should be. We could take this $1 million, nothing against Landscape Services or any other company that's going to come in here and do it, but we could take that $1 million and we could fix a lot of things with $1 million.
Well, I would like to say that this is probably the best landscape company we have had. They do a fantastic job.
Well, compared to what we had in the beginning when I came on council, I would agree with you.
Much better. And actually, this price that I am paying for them, my portion of this, is cheaper than that company back then. And they're holding their price on this one.
But things don't, I can tell you this, from somebody that lives here, and I'm sure that, I'm hoping that both of you guys are going to agree with me.
We both live here.
But, yeah, because you live here. Our city did not look like this when we did our own work. And I don't care who's doing it now, it's not like it was when we did our own work. Our fire halls, our firefighters used to cut the grass. We don't have the manpower in the fire department like we used to, but their lawns don't look like it used to. A lot of the city properties, I know by me, it used to be well-groomed when we had city employees every week. Now we're lucky to get it cut every 3 weeks down there. I'm just saying, we need employees. I know hiring is an issue across the country today, but I just think we could be doing better. The third largest city in the state, we should not look like this. We should not have all the problems that we have to discuss every meeting about what's not getting done. It's ridiculous. It's not your guys' fault. It's above your head that it's not giving you the resources to do your job, and it's time to fix this problem.
Thank you, Mr. Watts.
Mr. President?
Mr. Kabczynski.
I thought of some questions while Mr. Watts was talking. So this council approved the equipment, correct?
Well, I can't answer that question. Once again, like I said, that's not my department. That was the Blight Busters.
Okay.
And I don't look at their budget.
I believe in addition to Blight Busters, we approved equipment for the different departments. And I also believe in attending the DDA and TIFA meetings that one of the items is mentioned for the fire department. They have a garage that is going to be equipped to handle for at least fire station number 1. I'm sure the library is going to be taken care of, and the mini station and the South City Hall for that garage there. I'm wondering, what is our equipment that we have right now that the city has actually purchased, but yet we're going out to contractors and hiring the contractors? Is that any of that equipment being used, or is it just being stored?
Once again, that equipment is Blight Busters equipment, and I'm not their boss. I don't know what they have purchased.
That's a separate department.
Complete different department.
So you purchased X marks and pickup trucks and trailers for Blight Busters?
Which I'm sure is possible,
Right.
but I don't know what they had purchased. I don't know how many of them there was.
I'm not trying to beat you up here,
No,
Mr.
it's
Walker.
fine.
I'm just
I'm just trying to
asking
give you-
questions
just trying to
before I
give you the
conduct a
answer.
vote here, because I want to know if we have any equipment that's brand new, that's laying dormant right now, that's not being used, and we could hire a person to use that piece of equipment instead of contracting this out.
I don't think any of Blight Busters' equipment is dormant. I believe they use their equipment on a daily basis. I can't tell you what they're cutting because, once again, it's not my department. And I don't want to answer questions that I don't feel confident in my answer.
It's not in your purview.
Mr. President, I have a real concern here because I know this council approved for the equipment. I don't believe it was just with Blight Busters, and I'm wondering what is. I don't know if this is making any sense here, but
No, I know where you're going. I know where you're going. What you want to know is, since this council's been seated.
Yes.
The question that you want to, I think what you're trying to get to, is to purchasing to Mr. Treppa. We can make this part of the resolution here, that since this council's been seated, how many, a schedule of equipment that's been purchased, under what budgets, and to what department did they go to for landscape type stuff? Blowers, billy goats, riding lawnmowers, weed whackers.
Could we request a complete inventory of what has actually been purchased specifically for lawn maintenance since this council has been seated?
Yeah, and then, some type of asset schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, I would make that a part of
We'll
approving
add that to this motion.
Yeah, I would make that a part of this, requesting a complete inventory of what lawn maintenance equipment has been purchased, not only for Blight Busters, but any other department, and what is the status of that equipment.
And if there's been any appropriations made that haven't been fulfilled. So if we gave them $100,000 for something, and they didn't use it, we'd like to know that as well, because when they come back and say, we can't get it done because of hiring, well, you can't get done, it's not hiring, it's you haven't purchased it.
Right.
So let me add something, if I could, before, you do a lot of talking.
I have a new truck.
So like building maintenance, they do Civic Center South. They have their equipment. And that's not your guys' department.
No, like I said, that's Blight Busters, and I do know that they have new equipment.
So where we're at right now, it's March 14th. Probably in another month, we'll start, everybody's gonna start cutting grass.
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Pretty soon.
We're here early,
So, we can't go out and buy equipment now and staff up to do this. The reason that we, in the past, have said, hey, Blight Busters and whatever department needs to be more nimble, because every couple of years, it rains. And it rains a lot in April and May. And then it stops, and everybody wants to use the parks, and everyone wants to have their sports, and they want to get out there. But the contracted company has to cut everything else too, and they can't go out there when it's a bog, and they can't do it as quick as we want. They can't cut it all down in one day. So we wanted Blight Busters or whatever department to be able to fill that gap and make sure that at least the sections of the park used for youth sports and whatnot is available. And it's a catch-up. It happens every couple of years, and it is a pain. But again, as I started out, we're at March 14th. We got to approve this. We can't sit there and go, well, let's see who's out there. Because I'll tell you what, every contractor's, they're let out. They're full.
To be honest, I don't think we'd be able to get another contractor.
No, this is what's always made me frustrated, that this comes to us now as opposed to December, so that we can look at it. And this, we can't. We have to take it. And I looked at it. It's the same prices they've had in the past. They haven't upped their prices.
No,
they
very
haven't.
good company.
They didn't even put a provision in there for what's everybody doing? They didn't put a provision in for increase in gas or eggs or whatever.
Right. 4.5% over a 4-year period.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, yes.
So that's
very minimal.
That's reasonable, and they've done a lot for. And I think he even plays Santa every once in a while.
They have. Probably the best I have had in parks for the last few years.
But I think, I agree with Mr. Watts and Mr. Kabazinski that we gave money, we appropriated money for, and we know this isn't you guys, but we need to know whether that,
Mr. President?
That's been filled. And to Mr. Watts's point, we need to, if we can't hire anybody for Blight Busters, then we need to look at what the hiring standards are and what we're paying. If we're paying someone an extra $3 an hour over a summer, it's not going to kill our budget. Mr. Kaczynski.
Let me clarify this. My intent was not to approve these items. My intent was to ask questions related to these items before we vote on this here, and this was the time to ask. That's what I'm doing. I'm asking questions about this. I guess is in any of these contracts, as it was alluded to, because these guys are going to be busier than hell coming up here, is it in the contract that the city of Warren is a priority before any other contracts that they have?
I guess we'd have to ask Mr. Treppa that, but when I spoke to Paul from Landscape Services in my past, working with him the last 3 years here, honestly, when I call, they're here. They have staffing, which is unbelievable. Anytime my ball diamonds, the soccer fields, if they weren't cut the first or second time, I make a phone call and I can honestly say they're out there with, I'm very impressed with the company. I'm not just saying it would be difficult for me to even staff and my workers do as good a job as they have this group do. I don't know where he finds all his workers or staffing or what they pay them, but Landscape Services, somehow I think they run 15 to 18 workers just for our parks. They probably pay them $20 an hour. You know, Mr. Kaczynski, which is about $1,000 a week or better. I don't know if we could get it done for $500,000, all the cuts. For single cuts and then the ball diamonds and soccer fields, the second cut. We may save 50 grand, 100 grand throughout the whole year, you know, with the equipment. I'm not positive, it's just the financial, but I think we're getting a good deal with this company. I really do.
That's not the issue I'm debating, sir. What I'm debating is when we had this lawn care fiasco, the chaos that was happening with all the different contractors, and nobody was answering to us whatsoever. And I mean that not to the council, to the city entirety, okay? We had all these different contractors, we had all these different bids, and we had a fiasco with the grass. And we had citizens complaining about the grass.
I think back then was when, a few of the companies, Green Meadows, Unique Clips, I think at that point is how we got to Landscape Services, is because they were all bringing the work program in from overseas, and they weren't, I think President Trump was in office and that had slowed down, and so they weren't here, the workers weren't here too at that point. So I think Landscape Services has a lot of Warren residents, a lot of workers here locally, and I think that's how they were able to take over when we fell behind at that point. I think Mr. Green was part of that group too when we were struggling. They jumped in and they took over and they kept us going. So I don't know if we're the #1 priority. I know over $1 million contract is large. I can only hope that we're first in line. That's all I can say.
And I can echo Dino's thoughts on, I can call them, they give me their foreman's direct phone number. I have one issue, I call them, that foreman's out at my office that day, and he takes care of the problem.
Okay.
I've never had that. I've never had that service with any other contractor we've had.
And Mr. Treppa's here, he probably knows them as well as any of us.
He probably talks to them as much as we do.
Yeah. So, do you have any?
No. We don't have priority language in the bid, but historically, we've had this company on board for many, many years, and we're treated as a #1 priority. Year in, year out. There's a phone call made to these guys. They answer the bell same day, within hours. They've never let us down. They treat us as the #1 priority, whether I have it written in a bid or not. We also have a 30-day notice for termination. We can terminate them at will if we need to. So we're asking for these extensions to keep that price firm, which is a competitive price. But extending this for multiple years is really no risk to us. If we want to terminate it, we can terminate it. But the last 4 or 5 years, all these big companies that can handle these big jobs, they've gone by the wayside. They're no longer in existence. So you really have 1 or 2 companies that can do it. And when we bid it out, these guys were most competitive. The ones we're going out trying to extend, well, I think we have one through 2029. We bid that thing out in 2019. And they're keeping pricing from 2019 when they were most competitive. Go through the COVID years, all the increases in prices, and they're holding things firm. So they're a great vendor to have, and it just makes sense to extend these with these guys at this point.
Okay, I accept the answer.
Mr. Watts?
All right, you've only made me come up with more questions. Is there an out clause in these contracts, Mr. Treppa, for the length, based on the length?
Yes, I just said 30-day notice.
Because I got a problem extending a contract this far. I have a huge problem with that.
That's, if you don't want to extend it, then we may have to have a price increase further on down the road. But 2 years from now, a year from now, if you make the decision we don't want to go with them anymore, we can terminate.
So, I agree. We can't not approve this because, again,
This is beneficial for us. We're locking it in.
right, we have to approve this because we got to have the grass cut. I'm smart enough to know we're not buying lawnmowers tomorrow and hiring 10 people. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. But here we sit, and we want a responsible contractor ordinance. We want to be able to have the union trades getting the better wages for our employees. And here we are, contracting it out to a non-union company. They're we're paying them X amount of dollars, and then they're paying their employees X amount of dollars. So they're making money. Everybody's entitled to make money. But let's just say we were paying whatever this works out to. I don't know what it works out to, but let's just say that we were paying $30 an hour to Landscape Services because they're the ones that are getting the contract. But they're probably paying their people $15, $18 an hour, I'm saying, for grass cutters in today's world. Well, we could be hiring guys and giving them a little bit of benefit, and we would probably have people lining up at the door for these jobs.
You would think so.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah, you would think so.
Mr. Watts, honestly, I wish. I can't even get them. I'm up to $15.
That might lead to my other problem that we're having, because I'm seeing problems hiring all across the city that other cities aren't having, and it leads to another department. So we'll leave it at that. The other problem I have is we have a two-tier system. We have the Blight Busters over there being run by property maintenance, who basically should be out inspecting property, and they're paying the Blight Busters less than they would if they were workers in the DPW. And I think that department should be brought in underneath Mr. Walker. I hope you don't slap me off the stage for that. But if we had all these people in one spot managed by one operation, I think it would be much better. And again, Mr. Toccato, I have no problem. I agree with you. They're doing a good job. But we need maintenance workers year-round.
I agree.
Our parks are falling apart. They were never like that before when we had people working there. And we keep contracting this work out. I don't see Landscape Services coming in and fixing the picnic tables. I don't see any of that stuff happening. That's why I'm preaching that we need it. And we sit here and we preach we want these union jobs and all these, and then we do the opposite and we contract out to non-union people. What the hell are we doing? That's not fair to our residents. This city's slipping down a hole under this administration, and we need to fix that. And again, I'm probably preaching to the choir because you guys are the ones that want more help, but it's above your head. And nobody wants to listen. And and yes, Mr. Kapusinski, Gus Ganem said, and we could go back and pull the tapes, pull the Memorex, and we could find where Gus said, we're going to bring in and hire our help, and we're going to buy these lawnmowers, we're going to do that. They did none of that. That was an outright lie, and I got a problem with that. So I know everybody wants to be done, so I'm good to go, but we just need to fix the problem next year, whatever. We need to fix it.
Anybody else? Call the question. Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Reluctantly, yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Kabzinski?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Thank you,
Next.
Council.
Thank you both.
Next item is 14I, request of the Department of Public Works, Property Maintenance, and the Fire Department to extend the award of bid ITBW 0643 to median mowing and maintenance services through the 2027 season in an amount not to exceed $183,710. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Kabzinski?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Reluctantly, yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
14J, request of the Parks and Recreation Department, Senior Housing, Department of Public Works, and Building Maintenance to extend award of bid ITBW 9864 for maintenance and turf fertilization service through the 2028 mowing seasons to Landscape Services, Inc. in an annual amount not to exceed $701,020.40. Consideration and adoption of a resolution. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Motion by Moore, support by Lafferty. Discussion. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. Rogency?
Yes.
Mr. Kabzinski?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Reluctantly, yes.
Green votes yes. Item passed 6-0. Next item.
Motion to adjourn?
Support Rogency.
Motion and support. All